This story takes place almost a decade ago in Dallas when I was 16 or 17. I've been through crazy shit since this, but this is the most afraid I've ever been for my life. Long story short, I was drunk in a friend's apartment complex one night and a guy asked to get a smoke from me. We end up chatting a bit and sharing a blunt I had on me, and he invites me to his place. His place is a trap apartment in the complex run by the local group of Crips. This place had no furniture, just a bunch of guns, a mattress, a security camera, and a fuck ton of hard drugs. 5 or 6 guys worked shifts there and sold coke, crack, heroin, MDA, pills, basically anything you can think of. I explained to the guy that I was a student at a high school nearby that had a huge demand for hard drugs with little to no supply. We strike up a deal for me to be the middleman for my entire school as long as I never told anyone about the trap house. This benefited me greatly. I started swinging by 10 plus times a day, pocketing a fuck ton of free drugs and money, and earned a reputation at my school as the go-to guy for any drug you could want. Eventually, I earned a lot of respect with the Crips in charge of the trap house. I was a 16-year-old white boy wearing skinny jeans and band t-shirts, bringing in thousands of dollars a week in sales. No drama, no bullshit, total trust, everything. Looking back on it, I got a little too comfortable with all of it. One day, my friend from school asked me about getting an ounce of weed and half an ounce of blow. He had been saving money and wanted to start selling. I call one of my favorite guys from the trap house and he tells me that a new guy is on duty but he'll take care of me. I show up and the new guy acts like he doesn't know who the fuck I am. Understandable, it's his first day. A 16-year-old emo kid showing up looking to buy a shit ton of dope probably has sketchy written all over it. He makes a few calls to his bosses who all vouch for me and he sells me the dope. I bring it to my friend and we go to his place to weigh it out and get high. After weighing it, we realized that we'd been shorted at least $500 worth of shit and my friend was furious. Now, this entire time we were weighing it out, we were drinking and doing coke, so my brilliant self has an idea. These OG motherfuckers at the trap house love me and I'll simply bring all the drugs back, explain they shorted me, and I'll be fine, right? I show back up and the new guy's still there. I try to explain the situation, but I'm fucked up and looking back on it, I'm sure I came across as sketchy. I said something along the lines of, "You sold me all this coke and weed, but it was short. I paid you X amount of money, so I either need more coke or my money back. Call Dre or Monty, they know what's up. I know you're new, so it's cool." Blah blah blah, basically acting like I was hot shit and he was the noob. Immediately, this guy thinks I'm a snitch and holds a fucking shotgun to my face. He gets a sheet of paper out and writes, "Strip down." I start freaking out and still remaining silent, he writes, "Prove no wire" on the paper. At this point, I think I realized for the first time that I was a 16-year-old in a Crip trap house accusing a 30-plus-year-old OG of fucking me over and demanding money from him. Also, because the trap had been my little secret, no one knew where I was. Basically, I was a fucking idiot. So I stripped down. I got completely naked and was begging for the guy to just let me go. He searched all my clothes, found no wire, and broke his silence. Everything becomes a blur at this point, but I remember him screaming and threatening me, telling me I needed to learn my place, telling me he could kill me and hide my body where it would never be found, etc. At some point, he hit me with the butt of the gun and I was knocked out. I woke up, which surprised me then, and even now, I figured I was going to be killed at this point, and the guy was on the phone with someone asking what to do with me. Eventually, he got off the phone and told me to get dressed. He took the coke and weed back, took my phone and wallet, and told me to get the fuck out. I remember the walk to my friend's place vaguely, him wanting to kick my ass for getting the drugs taken and me not giving a fuck because I was simply glad to be alive. Later that week, I tried to call one of my old main guys from the trap to figure out what the fuck happened and all the lines were disconnected. I went back by the trap house and it was vacant. I had no idea what had happened. The next week, the Dallas PD, SWAT, and DEA kicked in the door of a different apartment on the other side of the apartment complex on a search warrant. The man inside was holding a shotgun when they kicked in the door and was killed by the police. I recognized his picture in the news as the guy that held me at gunpoint and made me strip down. His name was Carlton. He also had a 4-year-old daughter. I found out later that the police had the trap on their radar and the Crips knew it. I think they brought in a new crew, figuring that they would clean out the snitch, hence the guys I had never seen before being there during all of this. I think eventually they figured out it was a customer working undercover, and then cue my sketchy ass coming in all entitled and acting stupid with the new guy, and I arguably could have been killed. I have a lot of stories of crazy shit like this happening, but this is truly the closest I think I've ever been to losing my life. A lot of people have been killed over way less than this, and very few 16-year-olds survive getting stripped and beaten in a trap house at gunpoint. I guess you could say I'm lucky. Alright, so my friend, we'll call him X, and I were looking for some blow, and his friend, let's call him Z, said he had some and he would be in our area. So we're chilling at X's house when Z shows up. Now, Z is a classic sociopath. There's a dead look in his eyes and he's known for nearly always being dosed on something, hitting his girl and fucking people up for just looking at him wrong. For that reason, if you're dealing with Z, you try to keep him happy. He walks through the door and says what's up, then sits down and busts all of his shit out. He's got some dubious looking sass, some coke, and acid. I'm just trying to cop my coke and get the fuck out of here, so I pay him for a G and he hands me the bag. I'm thinking, great, this is going fine, when Z starts chopping up a line for himself. Okay, fine, he wants to get his buzz going, no harm, no foul. Then he cuts up about 300 milligrams of his shady sass and rails that as well. Alright, so now is where I'm starting to get even more worried. Now he's ripping X's G-pen as well. So I've got a violent and unstable person on multiple drugs on my hands. That's when he suggests we all go get lunch. We go to lunch with him so as not to upset him, and his girlfriend joins us. Suddenly, I see him pull several acid tabs out of his pocket and put them into his mouth. This guy is extremely fucked up by now, he has to be, and he doesn't even show it one bit. So I'm starting to get scared. That's when Z asks X if he wants to do a dab. X is a classic pot addict. He's never met a cannabis product he didn't like. So, he agrees immediately. We can't smoke at X's place because of the rules, and before I can signal no, my apartment is being discussed as the spot. Z is looking at me like, you better agree, so I do. We hop in his car and miraculously he drives there without killing us all. Now we're at my house and Z pulls 2 dab rigs out of his backpack. I tell them to blow it out the window, but no one listens. I tell them it'll set off the smoke detector, but Z gives me the most terrifying look, so I ease off of him a bit. Sure enough, it ends up setting off the building-wide fire alarm, and this is where it all pays off. Coked out, rolling, blazed, and tripping balls, the alarm sends Z into a glorious panic. As the first loud beep echoes through the room, he lets out a terrified, "Fuck!" He shoves all of his shit into his backpack, grabs his girl, and takes off as fast as he can, yelling randomly shit like, "They found me!" It was the worst coke I've ever had. I'm at a music festival with my friends and it's the morning of day 2 sitting at camp. We were looking for some Molly and my friend comes back to camp telling me he found a guy. I walk over and we discuss buying around 5 grams. The first sign this was fucked up was we got 3 grams loose and the rest in caps to make up the difference. Otherwise, it seemed okay. Didn't know a friend had a test kit back at camp, so we test out our hundreds of dollars worth of drugs. It's fucking fake as shit. This is where the adventure begins. So now, me and my buddy split up and run through the campgrounds trying to find this guy as we knew he was just walking around selling all day. We didn't find him, but ran into some guy claiming to have the best Molly around. We told him our situation and he basically said we were dumb for buying from black people. I know, that's weird, it doesn't even make sense. I got his number and said if I get my money back I would hit him up and test it before purchase. I run into another guy and he tells us the same thing after we explained our story. Don't buy drugs from black people. What the fuck? Whether or not this is true, we never thought about it before. This guy, I find out, actually works at the festival and I started freaking out since we just told him about getting ripped off and buying a shit ton of drugs. Turns out, this dude not only works there but sells dose, and not just enough to buy, I mean sheets on sheets of it. He feels bad for us and offers to sell us a discounted sheet so we can make our money back. I thankfully had enough cash to cover that, and when I paid him, he opened up the bag with 20 to 30 sheets in it and said, "Take your pick." Possibly one of the coolest drug purchases I have ever been involved in. So now, the main goal is to split up and rid all of this dose as fast as possible to make our money back. Sold all of that shit in 2 days and got rave reviews from random people I sold it to. Nothing like seeing a guy smiling on dose and have him come up to you and thank you for the tabs. The day after, my friend finds the fake Molly guy and makes a fucking scene demanding our money back. The guy offers him more fake Molly but just insists we get cash back. Fake Molly guy says he needs to get his, quote, boss. So now me, my buddy, fake Molly guy, and 3 gangster looking dudes meet up in the campground. Boss man looks annoyed but pays us back. I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen and was just glad shit didn't get real. So now we have our money back, and the money from selling dose, so I text the guy from before who said he has the best stuff. We meet up with him, test out shit, and I knew I wanted it right then. So I get my stuff and pay him. He stops me and says, "These are fake. I used to print fake money and I know damn well these are fake." So now I have 2 fake hundreds and a fake 50. This craziness just won't end. I paid him with real money and we were on our way. I ended up using the fakes to buy beer at the venue and was more than prepared for the vendor to know it was fake and confiscate it. I would just play dumb and leave if that happened. First 100 gets looked over super hard and I panic a bit. The guy asks the manager if it's fake and the manager looks real quick and says, "Yep, it's good." Got rid of all my fake cash that way. Then I hear from a friend who went that tried to pay for beer the last day with a real $50 bill get scrutinized really hard. They got the pens to check bills the last day, I guess. When he asked what the deal was, they replied, "We have gotten a lot of fake money this weekend and now have to check all the bills." I still feel bad that I made that happen, but in the end, real Molly guy was pretty cool and did in fact have the best stuff I ever had, and I met up with him at different festivals over the years. I am still amazed things turned out as well as they did.